Sound check, check, 1, 2.
This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
It is the 9th of May, 2020. My name is Corey Winfield. I am the host of the 217 Recovery Podcast. Started the podcast a little over a year ago. This is my journey through early recovery, fresh out of treatment. I started, I think I had 3 months sober, and now I have almost a year and a half. So something's working right. Of course, I went to sober living, lived in a house in Boyne City, Michigan, and it was something that I think I really needed to do. I didn't want to do it, but of course I did it, and living with like 12, 13 other guys was a little crazy sometimes, but to find a purpose is something that I would credit to the success that I've stayed sober this long so far. That and the help from God. You know, God put everything in my path and the way it needed to be. So, you know, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens just like it's supposed to. You know, it's just if you're lucky enough to be able to sit back and accept it and realize that, yeah, not everything is going to go your way, but just know the fact that it's happening for a reason, and it's not your job to understand what that reason is, at least not right now. Yesterday, it became pretty clear to me what I needed to talk about today. And before I get to that, which of course is going to be boundaries, and before I get to that, though, I do want to mention a dream that I had just last night. It was a using dream. It was a drinking dream, and it wasn't as bad as they've been in the past, but I still woke up a little shook. This is something, if you're in recovery, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're in active addiction and thinking about, you know, wanting a better life, recovery is the way to go. But you can kind of expect this. And like I said, if you're in recovery, you know what I'm talking about. The when you wake up and it's just, you know, thank God that was just a dream. And depending on where you're at in your recovery or just in life in general, it could trick you a little bit. You know, maybe in the dream you got away with it. Maybe you didn't. I know when I wake up, I feel like I didn't get away with anything, you know, because I know. And this dream that I had last night, I was with my current girlfriend, and, you know, I had drank in the dream, and, you know, I came out of it with not going to the hospital, but she had found out. She came home or something, and I was telling her about it and about how, you know, we didn't need to tell anybody. And at the same time, I was saying, well, you know, how am I supposed to get my 2-year chip? You know, I can't walk around here telling people that I have this much clean time when I don't. And that's something I was keeping in. I didn't tell her that. She was just trying to say that it's okay, you know, and stuff like that. Like, hey, it happens. And I think she wanted to, in the dream, to cut it off where it was at, you know, like, and that was cool that, you know, she played that kind of role in my dream. But I had a hard time with just knowing that I had screwed up with it. And it was that same feeling from back in the day, you know, a couple of years ago when I would, you know, have 3-4 months sober, and I would tell, you know, my family members I feel great. And I did. And everything was great, except for the fact that I'd never really got to the bottom of, you know, what was really making me want to run away from reality and what was hurting so bad deep inside. Now, over the year, I've kind of realized, you know, a huge part of that was abandonment, being abandoned by my father, you know, at an early age. And I've always wanted to prove to him, you know, that, hey, I did it and I'm good. And I want to be responsible for carrying on the Winfield name. And I don't want to do that for him. I just want to do that for myself. And have a Winfield family that is operating the right way. And by the right way, I mean just with love. Not every family operates the same. That's clear. But I just want love. I want to show my child love. I want us all to love each other, and I want them to love their cousins and their nephews and their brothers and sisters and their grandma. I just want that foundation of, oh, well, so-and-so is my nephew, but we don't really ever talk to him. I don't want it like that. And that's kind of how it is on the Winfield side of my family. So I just want to make it to where we're close. And, I have that responsibility. I look forward to that responsibility. Let's just say it like that. But part of that, I guess, really isn't expectations. It's not, like with my father's relationship, it's not really codependent. And I did kind of have to set a boundary with myself, with him, just to the fact that I don't have to deal with this. I don't have to call him. I don't have to make anything right. A year ago, I sent him a text. No, it'd be 2 years ago now. I sent him a text, telling him that he wasn't a great person, and there you go. I struggled at first with I shouldn't have sent that, but I'm kind of glad I did. It kind of got things off my chest, and I let him know, that I didn't forgive him. And that's something that, I have to work on, and I don't have to do it today. And it's more about forgiving myself for that. And I really don't think I have to. That's a boundary that I set with him, kind of, and with myself about, he is the one who walked away from me in our family, I guess you could say, but it's not my fault. And, for me to try to start digging up old wounds and stuff that's going to paralyze me, I don't really need to do all that today. And, just bring a box up at a time, just box up at a time. Not sure if you're dealing with anything like that or have dealt with anything like that, or maybe something you need to investigate, those feelings that are kind of hidden and buried away. And that's why I think the women that were in my life before, they weren't the right women. I knew they weren't the right women, but I didn't want to be alone. And, looking back, it's kind of silly. Again, once I get this time machine built, I'll go back and smack myself in the head, but it's just silly, but you'll try to cover up so much BS just to make it look pretty. And even though, it's like you're trying to put together a nice art piece and you're using meat, and it just keeps just falling off, or steak or whatever, it's falling off and you're just trying to hold it together and you're like, look, it's pretty, right? That's kind of what I was doing with those relationships is, see, that was pretty. No, it's horrible. You can't make an art piece out of meat. Actually, now I want to. That would be gross, though. But yesterday, though, three different people came to me, and they were talking about situations they were having, and I was just like, yeah, the first guy was telling me some pretty personal stuff about his recovery and his methods that he's using to stay sober. And man, whatever works for you, if you're not using heroin, good. If you're not drinking, good. I wouldn't recommend smoking pot. Like if you're like, oh, I drink, I'm alcoholic, I'll just smoke pot. Try it. I don't think it'll work. It didn't work for me. That's all I know. It just made me realize I'm not a big fan of pot, and I want to go drink. That's pretty much all it did. And I'm like, I'll just blame it on I'm just stoned. People saw through that pretty quick, and it was just not a good idea for me. Substituting one for the other, it's not what you're looking for. And I wouldn't recommend that. But like I was saying, though, when I would substitute one for the other, it would make me feel like I wasn't complete, and I felt like I was using anyway, so I might as well just drink, So again, it totally up to you, but with my situation, it was clearly different from what this guy's was, and he was just saying that he was using other stuff It wasn't weed, nothing like that. It was actually prescribed by the doctor. So, that's something totally different. And I told him, that's good. As long as you're not using, the drug that's going to kill you, I think that's great, And he said, yeah, but my mom really doesn't. And, she says this and that and says that I'm never clean. And he said he had 2.5 years clean. And she would always kind of rag on him a little bit about him not really having that much clean time. And my suggestion was to him, just keep that stuff personal. Really that's between you and your doctor. I'm sure he wants to include his wife in it as well, and that's fine. But, as far as someone who's going to criticize him and make him look down on himself already more than he is, I don't think that's a healthy relationship. So my advice, like I said, was to just keep that personal. He said, yeah, but, she's going to come at me with the whole I did this for you and thing. And I was like, oh, wow, like that sounds way too familiar, way too close to home. And there was a time where I had to kind of set some boundaries with my mother. And if she's listening now, she's probably like, oh, whatever, you didn't have to set no boundaries. But no, there was some codependency going on there on my side. And that's the only one I can clean up, is my side. So I had some issues here and there. And I just said, hey, look, here's the boundaries. I'm not going to tell you about this. I'm not going to tell you about my girlfriend. I'm not going to tell you about anything really until I'm ready. And that's a decision I had to make. And he said, yeah, but wasn't she mad and this and that? I don't know. That's on her. Those are her feelings. In order for me to move forward in my life and in my recovery, here's the boundaries that I laid, and I can't change how she feels. And that's something that in the past I would have told her everything because, well, maybe I'll need money one day. B, maybe I'll need a place to live. And C, I really don't want to upset her, but those are three very, very bad things, and once, it's like, okay, well, first of all, let's not look at it like you may need some money someday. Maybe I do. Maybe I will. Maybe I already have. That's fine. And then the appropriate time is I will ask her, but it's not going to be under the pretext or whatever of, hey, I can go ahead and drink this $80 away because my electric bill is $120 and I don't have it anyway, so I'll just drink it away, and if it gets cut off, well, maybe mom will help me. And that's how I used to kind of think about things. It's not like that anymore. If I need to borrow money, it's for a good reason and for a good cause. So, A, don't worry about that. And then the second part, I might need a place to live. Again, don't think about it like that. If you need a place to live and you're sober, I guarantee you, if your mom's anything like my mom, you'll be welcome. And then the caring about the other person's feelings. Again, you can't control what other people think or what other people feel. You can't. Just like they can't control how you think or you feel. They do stuff and you're like, yeah, but they make me mad. No. They do things that you don't agree with. They do things that you find upsetting to you, but they're not making you mad. You can only make yourself mad. So, but those three things are very, very dangerous. And once, I kind of got those out of the way, and my mom, I believe, said the same kind of things, like, oh, well, I was there for you and how can you do this? And maybe she didn't. Maybe I just played it out in my head and was arming myself to be prepared for those kind of things that she knows that, she has done for me. And know that could be pulling on the heartstrings a little bit. And what my mom has done for me is absolutely amazing. And I couldn't be here today without her. She's the only person really, I'd say 100% that had never given up on me, and the person that I, of course, hurt the most and put through the most hell. So with her, again, I don't even remember if she did even say those things, but if she had, that's the kind of approach I was going to take with, well, I appreciate everything that you've done for me, Mom, and, I love you to death, and I wouldn't be here without you, and I couldn't have made it this far without you in my recovery, but, there's certain things like the girlfriend or this or that I'm just going to keep to myself, that you don't really need to worry about. And yeah, you'll meet the girlfriend when I'm ready to have you meet her. And there was a little something with that, and I think she just kept prying. I think she just wanted to know because, of course, my mom does love me. She does care, and she does want to know. But there was